The only way I can explain how this film was created is that somebody watched a dinosaur documentary, had a dream, woke up, went to Warner Brothers, and said, I have an idea. Thank you guys for tuning in yet again to another one of my YouTube videos. Please, please, please consider leaving a like and a subscribe to my YouTube channel if you want to see more reviews from me. It really helps support my YouTube channel. I love making movie reviews. I do plan on releasing more content in the weeks to come. With that being said, let's move on to today's topic. The short time that has passed from me watching this movie to actually making this video, I still can't seem to wrap my head around as to exactly what I watched. And that's the best way I can describe the feeling when watching this film, The End of Oak Street, directed by David Robert Mitchell. I'm still really confused about how I feel. It's one of those films that just stays on your mind, not just because you've made peace with a clear take on it, more because you're still in that wait, what do I even think about this sort of feeling? So let's dive in. I just want to unpack my thoughts and just talk about it. And maybe by the end of this review, I'll actually understand how I feel about this movie. So, what is The End of Oak Street even really about? The film follows what appears to be a pretty ordinary suburban family. We meet the Platt family: Denise Platt, Greg Platt, and their kids Audrey and Brian, and of course their dog Starbuck. At first glance, they're just a regular family living on Oak Street, but there's a serious strain underneath. Denise and Greg's marriage is struggling, mostly from poor communication and lack of understanding, and their kids absolutely feel that tension. As the story goes on, we learn that Greg has been laid off and is delivering pizzas, partly to help make ends meet, but also to hold on to some sense of purpose and dependability. And then everything changes. A strange cosmic event rips their neighborhood out of the world they knew and drops them into a prehistoric landscape filled with dinosaurs. No explanation, no roadmap. Suddenly, they're fighting to stay alive, avoiding becoming prey, protecting each other, and searching for any possible way back. Along the way, they learn to rely on one another and repair what's broken and grow closer as a family just to survive. As a concept, I think the film does deserve some credit. The idea of being transported somewhere else isn't relatively new. We've all seen time travel and cosmic events before, but we don't often see dinosaur movies that aren't tied to Jurassic Park films. So I really applaud their attempt here. That said, this is very confusing as a movie. Not because it's complex, but because I'm left wondering where is all of this going thematically. It feels like the main goal is to just entertain dinosaurs on the screen, survival set pieces, and that's really it. Still, I like the creature designs. The feather details show a nice attention to modern science, and the designs are scary and genuinely threatening. One thing that caught me off guard is how violent this film actually is. I went in expecting a family adventure, and instead there were moments where I'm pulling out my phone to double check the rating. The death scenes can be brutal. Greg's death scene was honestly super brutal. I was not expecting that at all. When he tried to save Denise, the dinosaur grabs his leg, swings him, slams him a foot into the dirt, and he's like buried in the dirt. And it's shocking. His leg is gone. He's screaming as he's bleeding, and and the dinosaur just chomps on him right in front of his family. I just sat there thinking, what in the world did I just watch? I even remember reading an interview where Anne Hathaway was talking about the ratings and how she um, truly believes that films that have dogs that die should be considered rated R films. And I can understand the argument, and partly I could agree with that. But I also have to question, did she not watch this film? Because I almost felt like it was really pushing that PG-13 rating. Or maybe I just don't understand ratings in general and kind of out of touch with that. Well, Starbuck in this film doesn't die. He makes it, so that saves this film from a rated R rating. But I can't help wondering if we saw the same movie. I really couldn't. That said, I do appreciate the commitment. Dinosaurs should be terrifying, and the danger in this film never feels fake. I really am trying my best to try to kind of unpack this film and try to find the nuances in this film, because this film did in fact get a pretty high rating on Rotten Tomatoes. It is actually sitting at the time of this recording at a 85% on Rotten Tomatoes, only 4% behind Spider-Man Brand New Day, which I believe is a far superior film. I'm not sure. Honestly, I think this film would rely on like the low 70s in my opinion at best. With that being said, the concept of kind of quote unquote time traveling or having a cosmic force take your town out of your current world and putting you back in a prehistoric world is relatively interesting, but the film doesn't necessarily dive into it and tries to somewhat give a bit of explanation as to what it all means, how does it work, and how it plays into the ending of the film. With the ending of the film, they actually make it out alive and are actually put back into a moment in time that is right before they actually go back in time to the prehistoric event. That part is a little confusing because, is there like a doppelganger there? Did the people did Denise and the children get duplicated, get transported? Like, are they erased? Like, I don't understand how, in terms of like time and stuff like that, how this all kind of wraps in together. It makes for a nice family moment. The family gets reunited once again, especially with Greg. Greg is now alive because they're back in time and they're able to see their father once again, and it makes for a nice family reunion and stuff like that. But it's just, it's very like, I don't understand how we got here, and I don't understand what, like, how, where this even comes from. I'm really just dumbfounded by this movie. And with all that being said, I really can't recommend this film as to viewers. The best thing I could say is that you would definitely be entertained by the film. There's definitely a lot of decent action set pieces, and I feel like the dinosaurs in this film are definitely taken seriously in terms of their brutality. I would say most of the time, because there is a scene where two dinosaurs are actually kind of making love to each other, and that's part of the issue that I have with the film, where it's like there's moments where things are getting very serious mixed in with moments that are very comedic and funny, and they just kind of bounce back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and I just don't understand where my thoughts and ideas lie in all of this. On top of that, I don't think it's terribly shot. I think it's shot, pretty decently. I think the CGI isn't really that terrible. I do find that the film does this thing where it does this very weird close up on stuff like that, with the characters' faces, and honestly, it's very unappealing, and I don't understand why the camera was positioned that way. In some of these shots, it was very strange to see in like an IMAX theater. It was not. It would have been my first choice to shoot a dialogue between two people. Anne Hathaway is great. I think she's definitely the standout in this film. But I think that just kind of goes without saying. Anne Hathaway's always been a very great actor, and this movie really isn't any exception to it, despite not having the greatest script in the world. I actually think her best scenes are actually in the beginning of the film, but it's again, the film itself is just super confusing. I don't know what to say. That kind of also makes sense. The people behind this film actually don't understand what they were doing with it since the beginning. I did see on the internet that they did like that AI dog podcast thing, and that kind of turned off a lot of people because of where a lot of people have very negative views these days about AI and stuff like that. And so to kind of have to promote your movie with the dog that's in this movie having to be AI instead of just kind of like filming the dog and try to promote it that way, it's just, it really left a lot of sour tastes in people's mouths, and I really just don't think this movie has an identity. Overall, I would say I was entertained, but I was confused, and I can't recommend this film to really anybody. I don't think it's a really decent film. I think there are far better films that are out still. You have Brand New Day, you have Odyssey if you still haven't watched. If you're bored, sure, go ahead and give it a shot, and maybe you might end up liking it more than I did. But I honestly, it wasn't my cup of tea. And that's pretty much it. I don't think there's really much left to unpack with this film in terms of, cinematography, storyline, performances, and stuff like that. There's really not much to talk about. It's a very one-dimensional film. But with that being said, thank you guys for tuning into my channel. Please consider leaving a like and a subscribe to my channel down below, and also leave some comments. Let me know what your thoughts were on the movie. Do you have a favorite dinosaur? My knowledge of dinosaurs is actually pretty terrible. So, it would be nice to read some fun facts down below. With that being said, please consider coming back to my next YouTube video. And if you're looking for something else to watch, I have plenty of other YouTube videos in my channel. And yeah, uh, thank you again. Have a great day, guys.